I think photography is often spoken about in a great light, and people are like, oh, I love photography. And then there's this darker side of being a photographer where imposter syndrome comes in, your mental health becomes a imbalance. And while there are lots of videos and podcasts about that, I want to talk about the more balanced side of it, showing you that how it can help your mental health and how it can also boost your confidence as a person and do so much good. I don't want to ignore the bad side, the negative side of it, because there's two sides of every coin. But in this episode on the Loud Lens, which has been specially requested by my lovely friend Jenna, I want to talk about basically the mental struggle, the healing, the hustle of being a photographer. For some people, photography isn't, and I mean this, isn't a job or a career. For some people, it's a coping mechanism, a way to obtain equilibrium. I don't know if that's a bigger word for me to use, but a balance in their mental health. It's a quieting, it's a soothing process for them. I just want to read this out for you because I want to make sure I get it right. In a 2020 review in the Journal of Psychiatric and Mental Health Nursing, they found that participatory, that's a big word, isn't it? Participatory photography helped people with mental health conditions feel empowered, creatively expressed, and less alone. And there is something called photo voice participation, if I remember this rightly. Many people who are trauma survivors no, how do I say this? Yeah. People with PTSD or trauma survivors have used photography to process what's happened to them, sometimes what they can't say out loud. There were people in recovery, people who are facing chronic illnesses, and they have found that this kind of photography is a medium that's helped them express, because sometimes they can't pick up the painting and do it, but they can do self-portraits or take photographs that kind of it give them the feeling of what they're trying to put out there, but in a photographic sense. And it's quite an easy medium to work with because you can use your mobile phone. I have to say that I have seen this myself. If you don't know, I teach, or did teach, I say, because it's since closed, at a centre for adults with traumatic brain injury. And the idea of me teaching photography there was originally just for a 2-week course, then it extended to 6, and I was there for nearly 5 years. Was so that they could feel, one, that they were included, but also it was to help with cognitive, it was like a cognitive therapy session for them, because they had to use their hands and maybe think a little bit more differently, but also boosted teamwork. And then after a while, we started to do personal projects, and some of this stuff was heartbreaking. Like, there's one gentleman, I can't say what he was saying any names, but he said that he hated the fact that he went from this fit, active gentleman into just being in his chair now, and he wanted to show that he was more than his chair. So he wanted to show what it was like for him to be beyond this chair, and he did this series of self-portraits that didn't actually show his face, because he said, everyone sees my face but no one sees the rest of me because they just see this chair. So he started photographing the parts, and it was really hard hitting, and I was his tutor. I remember just thinking, okay, this is tough. And there's also somebody who had a brain injury, and it meant that they didn't recognize themselves at all. And what they would do was photograph themselves, and they literally took a shot. We did it like a compass, and they took a shot every degree, and then they did it as a series so they could see what they looked like, because they'd forgotten from their brain injury what they looked like. They didn't register with themselves. And I have to say, I know that's a very different avenue we're going down with, but it can be a form of therapy. And I think people don't realize that especially when we're working photographers and we're out there doing the headshots and we're doing everything, there is such a way in photography that we can miss that part. We become like, I've got to get the client work, I've got to get the client work. And I always say this, that you need to do a personal project. I do personal projects all the time. And I think that's my form, if I want loosely to put, is therapy. That's how I relax. That's how I switch off the noise. That's how I cope with what I'm doing. My personal projects. But why does it work? I think it's because you're not competing with anyone else, right? You're going with the flow. You're creating something. You're communicating with you're not doing it for credibility from anyone else. You're doing it for yourself. You're creating this, like, how do I put it, like a sense of purpose? Like, you're creating with purpose, but the purpose is for you. It isn't documented or required from somebody else. You have created the whole manifestation of it. And I think that really can help you. It can be frustrating. I'm not going to say that. And sometimes you feel like you lack the technical skills or something. But there is a link there. There is, and like, I know this from my own personal experience. There is a link there. Being able to create, you're in a flow state. You're present. You're not spiraling and you're not comparing yourself. You're just enjoying the creativity side. I don't necessarily worry about the outcome because I enjoy that side of it. I read somewhere there was a survey done, like I think it was like 10,000, 7,000, I don't know, UK adults, that showed that those who have creative hobbies had better life satisfaction and happiness. I don't know how true that is, but I thought it was a nice thing to like do. I thought it was, it can make sense. I know that when I leave my camera at home, I always feel like I've forgotten something, or I've got FOMO because I don't have my camera. I have done podcasts previously about the negative side of photography, this imposter syndrome and how it happens. So I'm going to touch on it a little bit here, but you can watch in one of my other episodes or listen in my other episodes. I think it's something like there was a study done where 9 out of 10 of the creative people they asked had some form of moderate to severe feeling of being like a fraud or having imposter syndrome. And that's quite concerning. And I wonder if that's something to do with the fact that when you do photography, you want to share it because you love it. Let's just use photography because there's obviously other creatives involved in this study. And you put it out there and people are just like, hey, I don't like it. And it's hard because it's someone on the internet, you've put it out, you're very proud. Now you can say it'll grow some thick skin, but do you know what? When you've put something in it's a very big passion project. For someone to go, I don't like it. And let's not try and say that everyone on the internet is horrible, but there is a certain way people can speak on the internet and get away with, right? And I feel like it starts to feel like imposter syndrome. And then if you add that how hard it is to get money out of people to pay for photography, that adds to it because you're like, I'm doing this great work, but you don't want to pay for it. What's the problem? And then there's all these competitions that come out. And I'm going to tell you now, listen in, I'm going to tell you now, most of these competitions are a pile of BS, okay? There are certain ones online where you join a website and you upload your images and you get all these like loves and likes. Sometimes those winners, I don't know how they've won because they don't even fit the theme of whatever it is. But they put it up. Oh, if you've been viewed loads of times. Oh, it's this dopamine chasing, and they get you into dopamine chasing. Okay, you need to stop. Okay, half the awards that people shout about, and this is why I joke when I used to do the intros and they're saying I'm an award-winning photographer. Who isn't? You literally get sent like awards in email to you. Like I remember winning best wedding photographer of Northamptonshire and then also winning best wedding photographer in Northampton, and then the guy down the road won best photographer of wedding specialty of Northampton from the same award company. So can you understand now that they know that we're dopamine chasing? This is a system deliberately set up to make us part with money and to make us feel bad. So we part with the money so we can have the award to tell people, no, we're legit. Okay, it's a vicious circle. And imposter syndrome definitely feeds off of perfectionism. We have this idea that we're never good enough and has everybody satisfied because there's always somebody there who's going, no, it's not good. And we feel like we need to appease them, and we don't. We need to get out of that mindset. When you're creating for yourself, the only person you need to impress is yourself. You can put stuff on the internet. If you don't want it on the internet, because or on social media because you're worried about the thing, just put it on your website, put it on your own page and lock it down. We need to stop thinking validation comes from likes and how many people tell us how fantastic we are. The validation should come from within, and that is something that I think photography can really help you with, especially when you think about what I said earlier, where people create and it releases something for them and it helps them vocalize, or I guess if you say photographically display the trauma or their feelings or how they're frustrated. Maybe that's where we need to be channeling our energy into. How do we get our feelings out onto this photographic project rather than waiting if Maureen from number 75 thinks I've got a banging shot? So how do we take photography back as care? Because if it's good, you want it to be good for your mental health, right? How do you do this? So I'm thinking like there's some very logical ways, okay? I mean, I wrote the book, Take the Effing Lens Cap Off, because I want people to get the mojo back for photography, okay? But there are ways. I feel like setting yourself little challenges, like shoot 5 images of one subject and never post them, because you don't need to post them. Just do it. Maybe go out and with your music on and just go out and photograph what makes you feel. Something, even if it has no other meaning to anyone else, if as long as you like it, go do it. You know, just go do it. I also think you need to set boundaries for yourself. That's something that can really help. Like mute accounts that annoy you, maybe mute interactions, turn off those notifications, do what makes you schedule breaks. Remember you're creating for you, because photography is about for you. I think we start to get these feelings of imposter syndrome, like I said, once we start getting money and clients involved, okay? When we're asking people to part with money for what we do. And then we have this thing, oh my God, we're good enough because we're worried we're not doing enough. I also think keeping a journal. Do I have my journal? Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. This is my journal. Let's even got a Metro pen on it. I write my ideas in here. I sometimes write feelings that I'm having in here, and as you see, it's like right here, so on my desk, because I want to be able to reach that and go for it when I'm feeling rough or I'm not feeling good. I don't want to perform for people. You see here, like everyone has this aesthetic. If you're listening to this on the Spotify or wherever you listen to them, you're probably not going to see this, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you will see the messy desk. That's actually a pink gorilla suit. I was wearing that today to surprise my next door neighbor. I've just dumped it in here. I don't have an aesthetically beautiful office. It's a working office. It feels good to me. When it's too sterilized for me, I don't enjoy that. So part of it is where I create and where I do my work has to feel very much like me. Okay, I want my shots and my environment to reflect me. So you might notice there's a few. If you, again, I apologize if you're listening to on the podcast and on audio and not video. You can see there's a couple of things. Like, I don't think you can make it out there, but above the door it says dramatic exit. That thing made me laugh. I put it up there. I create what I want, and I want photography to be like that too. So I want it to be, I don't know, like a guide for me. I want it to show me where I want to be. I want it to be a compass. I hate it, compass in my artistic journey. I don't want to be a cage. You want to express. I express freely because I don't. That's why personal projects are so important to me. I can do the bread and butter, the money ones, but when it comes to personal projects, they're the ones that keep my soul alive, keep me happy, keep me creating, and make me realize, like, when I've done 19 headshot sessions in a week, taking a picture of a girl running through a field in a red dress just makes my soul happy. So let's think about tools for thriving mentally. Maybe. I mean, please understand, I'm not a medical professional. These are just things I've picked up. So I think you need to reframe the outcome. Like, who are you shooting for? It should be yourself if you're doing this. It's not, you're shooting for the experience, not the approval. So enjoy the process, okay? And stop thinking you get it perfect first time, because that's ridiculous. It's just not done. Even when the Mona Lisa was being painted, when they x-rayed it, they saw multiple sketches underneath, including a self-portrait they believe that he didn't finish. But this is what happens. Even the greatest masterpieces take a couple of goes. You know what I mean? So track how you feel, not what it earns. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you run a business, you need to track your earnings, but track how you feel about creating that photography. How do you feel as a person creating it? It's really important. And the one that I think social media really can and not do is find supportive people. I think it can connect us with people, but equally isolate us. So it's really important to get out there, maybe meet up with creatives, meet up with people that make you feel good, go see photography groups, go out on photo walks, like I said, and educate yourself so that you understand why you've got a creative block. Maybe there's some psychology there for it. You feel inferior because you've been dopamine chasing, or because someone's been horrible to you. I'm not saying I'm a psychologist, but maybe there is a reason you have these creativity blocks. Okay, as adults, I talked about this, that as adults, we seem to be less creative. We don't flex that muscle as much, which is why I wrote the book, Stop the Take the effing lens cap off. And the other one that's coming out is No One Effing Cares About Your Photography, because I want it to be about stop dopamine chasing. It's quite a nice segue. Anyway, I hope these help. I don't know if I've done this justice, and I'd love to talk more. And I know this is a bit more of a sensitive, softer side for my podcast, because I am quite, But anyway, photography has saved me more than once. It's also burnt me out, and I need to let you know that. I can't hide from that, but I'm still here, often with a camera in hand, be it film or digital, doing my thing and loving my life. It has been a struggle, but I'm no longer creating for the metrics. I'm no longer creating for the tags or the expectations. I have my client work that I do, and then I have my personal work to do. And you can see the difference if you look at my Instagram. I'm having more fun with things. I'm enjoying myself. I wrote books, and when people told me not to, that I wasn't enough to write a book, I wasn't big enough to write a book, I held a podcast because they told me I wasn't good enough to have this, take up the space. So I took up the space. Why can't I create it? And why? Because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy this give back. I know this is a little bit tamer for me and a little bit more heartfelt, but I know that when Jenna actually suggested this, it came from a really good place, and I feel really honoured to have been done this episode. But if I haven't done it justice, let me know. This is The Loud Lens, and if it has resonated with you, I'm glad. Let's start conversations, join groups, because your mental health matters so much more, and I mean it matters so much more than any metric at all. Your creativity is not a commodity, okay? It is not a commodity. It is a lifeline. Take care of you.